Hey everyone, welcome to the latest Hedera Virtual MeetUp. I'm very excited to be talking today about hacking healthcare on Hedera and how Hedera expects to have a variety of applications that are going to change the way that the healthcare industry is run. I'm going to share my screen really quickly here. And so this is the next Hedera Hashgraph Virtual MeetUp. I'm Cooper Coons, the developer evangelist at Hedera. If you're not already following me, please give me a follow on Twitter at Cooper_Coons, and you can stay up to date on everything that Hedera is doing. So there's actually three parts of today's virtual meetup. I'm going to introduce Ben as well as the Acoer team. They're going to talk about what they're building and how they're impacting the healthcare industry. And then finally, we're going to have some quick tutorials and some overview of the most exciting news in the Hedera ecosystem. So I'm going to just kick it over to Ben now and stop sharing my screen, if I can do that. And Ben, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So, hey everybody. So, first, sorry for my very French accent, and I will try to speak very slowly. So my name is Ben Chevalero. I'm working as CTO of the Azure team, and I'm working on Hedera for the last 3 years maybe. So we started on Swirled, and after we moved to Hedera.
Yeah, you were one of the first Hedera Hashgraph enthusiasts that I knew, right?
Yeah. We spent a lot of time, already, and we developed some, I think, fun apps. So we are excited to talk about that today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you want to talk maybe a little bit more about your experience and what you were doing before you came to, be the Hedera developer that we all know?
Yeah, sure. So long story short, so I have like maybe 15 years of experience in working in IT, and I work for like US. So I'm French, but I'm working for US clients for the last 7-8 years. And I started to work on Swirled when I was working for the CDC in US. And we started to do some proof of concept, and it was like obviously very fun. And after we moved, so I continued to work on it, working on Hedera. And after I switched to a pharmaceutical company, where we continued to develop new stuff. And now we are at Acoer, so we are like free of developing like very fun apps. And I will show you that. And I'm going to share as well. So 2 products that we developed so far. The first one is HashLoad, which is like, I will show you after, but it's like a Dropbox on top of Hedera.
Yeah, actually, I briefly mentioned Dropbox on Hedera in the last virtual meetup with Pablo and what he was doing with Composer. And we got some comments in there about people getting excited. It's actually really fitting that you're here to talk about HashLoad.
No problem. And after, so we'll talk about HashLoad. And we got like a lot of tweets and stuff like that related to the coronavirus dashboard that we developed on top of Hedera. And a lot of people are like, I mean, guys, what are you really doing with Hedera? So I will show you like, bits of that and how do we really use Hedera related, this coronavirus dashboard.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're really lucky to have you. It sounds like you have deep experience being an architect, the Center for Disease Control, a variety of the industry, previously in the pharmaceutical industry. And you're just a really strong blockchain enthusiast. So I would love to dive into some of these products that you guys are building today.
No problem.
Which are you going to share with us first?
So let me share my screen.
And if anyone has any questions at any point, please drop them in the YouTube chat. We will just pause and try to answer them. And we'd love to make sure that the audience really understands what's going on here as well, because this is one of my favorite applications that's built on Hedera.
So you should be able to see my screen now.
Yep.
So I'm doing obviously to authenticate. We don't really care about that. It's like your regular apps. So today, HashLoad, as I said before, is like Dropbox, like a collaboration documents based on Hedera. So we have the concept of space or collaboration space. And within a specific space, I'm going to, whatever, let's take this one.
And so
on-
who would you be collaborating with in this case?
so for example, so we are developing that first for a pharmaceutical company. So one of the very important thing when you are developing like a new drug on when you do like a clinical trial, you need to prove which document has been created, and you need to like timestamp and prove your document that the result of your phase 3 of this new drug, we created this document, we shared it with our sponsors and partners, and we have like a trace directly in Hedera in a ledger. Uh, so it's really for that.
So
We
it's even for teams that just need to share data
yeah
between each
yeah
other. So this could be, the same team working on a new pharmaceutical trial or, a variety of things.
yeah
But
yeah
you're really talking about cross-team collaboration here, right?
yeah. So to be fair, it could be anything, because so today we built that on. It was first for a pharmaceutical company to prove to like federal agencies or public government that they created this document at this date and they have a timestamp. But we are extending like a lot the capability of this tool, and we are even using exactly the same like auditing system in HashLoad. At the end, it's exactly the same technology. It's just that we use it in a different way depending on the use case.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, let's dive into it.
So yeah, so you have collaboration space, and after you can add some document. I'm not going to. Oh yeah, whatever. I'm going to upload a document. Let's put this PDF document. Obviously, we don't. I'm not going to show every capabilities, but you can obviously change some properties. You upload your file, you are very happy. And now you have your PDF document. Let me move this window.
And
Uh,
so could you pause and maybe talk about what just happened behind the scenes, or are you going to
yeah,
walk us through that right
y-
now?
yeah, I'm going to do that right now.
Perfect.
So obviously, we are storing your document in our data center, and we are serving metadata, in a database, and we are creating some hash and stuff like that. So right now, at the bottom of the screen, we have the hash, which is the hash of the PDF document. And we have as well the latest transaction hash, which is a mix of the metadata of the document and the hash of the PDF itself. You can see here, like we display like a transaction ID, and when we display it, so this is another UI that I will talk just after, but you can query based on the transaction ID. We are querying Dragon Glass and Kabuto today, and we display some information like to see that the information are matching between the two mirror nodes, and we display the memo. Obviously, we are using like this magical field, this memo field, and we put like a lot of information inside this field. So right now we have, so this one is the object ID. I'm not sure that we show it. Yeah, we see it. Yeah. So the object ID, and after we have like a pipe. Right now we have nothing in the second pipe because it's the first, version of this document. And after we have this hash, which is exactly this latest transaction hash. So,
Okay, that's super interesting.
and what we do, let's say, we are going to update the title, very awesome PDF file.
It is a very awesome PDF file.
And I don't know if you noticed, but the transaction ID and the transaction hash has been recomputed. And now we have a new transaction ID. And when you check out this one, now we have the previous hash. So the hash of the previous version is now the previous hash, and we store now the new hash. Uh, Doing that, we create like what I call a chain of custody, where we can trace, using the memo field, everything, every version, and we can retrace just following the Hedera network. Have a full trace of what happened on this document.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So you're hashing the file so that we know the contents of this PDF. And so if anyone else in this team wanted to basically download and verify this file, they could authenticate this hash and then make sure that they're looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
But this use of the memo field is really unique and not something that I've seen. Building what you call that kind of chain of trust or chain of custody. I can't talk. Where you're basically tracking all the changes to those files, and people can easily see, all the different versions of them.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
really interesting model. So like the actual PDF doesn't get stored on Hedera in any way.
No.
It's in your guys' database,
Yeah,
but you're hashing that file and then storing the hash on Hedera so that anyone who wants to can validate and make sure that they're looking at the right file.
exactly. Yeah. And using, this like chain of custody or stuff like that. For example, so we try to think about every use case. Let's say obviously someone, sorry, is hacking our data center and change, the PDF file directly in the data center. Obviously, every hash are going to be changed, so they will not match anymore. We have as well the case of the metadata. The hash will not be the same anymore. And we have, this very simple, capabilities in verifying asset, which is so we recompute the object hash stored on our data center. We get the hash from Hedera, we match if it's a matching or not. We check if it's a valid, obviously, transaction ID in our database. We check the signature. Obviously, we want to find a transaction signed by the HashLoad account. And after we chase the binary hash and we check if they are matching and so on. So we have this, I think it's like 5 or 6 check to be sure that this transaction is the right one and so on. We
Wow,
check as well the date, for example. Oh yeah, let me show you that. So if I click on audit log,
compared to just checking the history of edits in a Google Drive spreadsheet or something like that, like it is an unparalleled kind of difference in the kind of trust that you're building into this application, though.
yeah,
It's really exciting.
and we even do that at the event level. So everything that is happening on the application is audited. So for example, we can see that I created the asset at this time. You can see that I'm in Quebec right now. And
so
we
when you
are,
mean audited, you mean you're actually logging this audit of historical changes to HashLoad on Hedera as well?
yes. So we store that in the database. We store the event in our database. We take like again a fingerprint of the document, and we store an hash of this event in Hedera as well. So if I click on this one, the syntax is not exactly the same as you can see. Alors, first we have, let me remember.
But
We
not
have the
only could you track the changes to files through your system, you could actually track,
every event.
potential malicious acting,
Yeah,
non-malicious acting, any type of alterations, which is a really kind of another level of trust that you can build into the system.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we store like object ID, event ID, and the fingerprint of the event as well. And yes, and in this UI, really very briefly, and I will show you that after. But so as you can see, we use Dragon Glass on Kabuto.
Yeah,
The idea
for those
is to
not familiar, those are Hedera mirror nodes. They offer stored histories of all the transactions that have happened in Hedera. And so basically, Acoer is pulling in from these alternative mirror nodes and third parties and verifying and comparing across them in this really nice way that I love.
and yeah, because at the beginning, if you remember, so Acoer, we had like a mirror node, but we were like, okay, we have HashLoad, we are, showing you some transactions, some hash, and you were clicking on something and you were landing on a mirror node hosted by Acoer. So it was like, yeah, your trust is good, but at the end, oh, I'm sure that the information that you display is really the information from the network itself. So it's why we decided to change that. So we removed our mirror node and we created what we call a data provenance validation tool, where in this field, you can put like any transaction hash or any transaction ID, and it's going to collect information from Dragon Glass and Kabuto and give you like a confidence score, which is we try to match every information between the two mirror nodes that we are connected today. And based on that, we give you like a confidence score. The idea is obviously when new mirror node will be created, the idea is obviously to add them as well to this tool to say, yeah, you can see we collected information from 5, 10, or 20, or maybe random mirror node, and we still have exactly the same transaction collected everywhere.
Yeah, it's super interesting how, hosting that whole historical set of data, totally would provide that ability to verify and authenticate it. But it's cool to see you guys taking approaches to how can you kind of decentralize yourself or remove yourselves from this chain of trust, and kind of say, we're providing this platform, but the data from it is from Hedera, it's from third parties, it's from whoever you want. And you can kind of use this without us having to operate or facilitate that data provenance.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
And yeah, just everything is geolocalized, on a capability that I really love. It's like, this reporting dashboard. So let me just, so again, you can see everything that is happening in our system. So you have, by day, you have the number of events, and you can filter down on, we'll talk later about the coronavirus, but it's really like, let's say I'm looking for PDF file.
So this is the meta reporting on how everyone's using HashLoad.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see that, everything that happened. So we can see, this document, how do we use blah, 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 what happened to him, the owner of the event, when it happened, and stuff like that. We have as well some email notification on when you open the email. We can, we are notified and stuff like that. So we have like a full traceability of
And all
what's
these
happening.
audit logs are getting hashed and stored on Hedera.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Every event, or all event, the fingerprint is turned on Hedera. So yeah, so if
That's
we
super
go to,
interesting.
so if we go to Kabuto, probably, we have like a lot of, so we are using this because today we are connected to testnet. So I did some testing, today. So we have like, every event are tracked. Yeah.
That's awesome. People can go check out your guys' transaction history on testnet now.
And that's it, for HashLoad. So it's really sharing documents. So again, I'm not going to show every capability that we have some preview and stuff like that. Today, it's really, we focus on, how we connected HashLoad to Hedera. But yeah, it's very, this secure and trust auditing using the Hedera platform.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, this is an amazing overview, and people out there are probably wondering, why don't I have a consumer, decentralized Dropbox on Hedera? Why are you guys focusing on healthcare? Could you maybe talk to that a little bit about that? Like, how are, different institutions in the healthcare industry currently sharing this information? Why do you need to build something like this for healthcare specifically? Because
Yeah.
those like me, I love building software, I love building apps, but I am very removed from the outdated healthcare technology.
So I'm not sure, who is attending this meetup, and I hope that I'm not going to offend anyone. But the healthcare and, pharmaceutical domain, and they are they are quite outdated in terms of technology and application. So obviously there is a lot of innovation and stuff like that. There is a lot of awesome project going on right now. But when you go to a pharma company or when you go to a federal agency, you can notice that they are still using, platforms and architecture that are 20, 30 years old.
Wow.
Uh, so for example, for this project, this collaboration platform, the clients we are working with, we're using like FTP and some rules to copy documents from one folder to another folder. It was like
That's
very,
crazy.
yeah, a lot of duplication because, yeah, I didn't show you that. But for example, in this tool, we have some check that the same file is not uploaded, twice, because they have like a lot of duplicates of the same files everywhere. It's like a nightmare. Uh, so and they were as well really looking for a solution for like auditing and reporting, because they are like, okay, we share documents with a lot of, partners, supports, government agencies, but at the end, we never know if they receive it, if they download it, if they check it, or anything. So they say, yeah, we want like a feedback, on our document, what's really happening after we provide these documents. And yeah, the pharma domain is really document oriented. So I can't tell you how many Word documents. So just for like the creation of a new drug, it's like a multi-year project. It's a lot of documents shared by a lot of companies, shared with the federal, so public, government agencies. There is a lot of documents going from one side to another. There's some feedback, some testing, some patient results, some patient feedback, some consent as well, obviously. And they wanted to track, all this process in a very secured way.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the regulatory burdens that those people face, as
Exactly.
well as
Yeah.
their kind of apathy or hesitancy to adopt new technologies, um, it's really cool to see exciting applications continue to be built. It's great to see people willing to kind of jump off that ledge and say, hey, we do believe we can improve healthcare.
Yeah.
And we think that technology and the way that we do things can be improved. So that's really, really exciting. I think a great example of this, and I think we talked about this before, is even like the shipping industry. If you're dealing with international shipping, and you guys used to work in supply chain, so I'm sure you're familiar, a lot of shipping is still done on like spreadsheets, traditional paper books. And so this actually seems like a really nice way that those industries, healthcare, supply chain, et cetera, could actually kind of improve their technology stack without completely migrating to something else. They can
Exactly.
still use those spreadsheets they somewhat know and love for some reason, but they can have the trust and authenticity of the data in those spreadsheets.
It was like, so back when I was working for the CDC, we have like let me remember that. Yeah, for generic drugs. So in US, there is like a law in place that when like a drug manufacturer is running low like on some volume of generic drugs, they need to inform the federal agencies and stuff like that. It's a regulation and they have to do it. So today they have to send a form. It's very complicated.
And a manual process.
And it's a manual process. And we did something. So it was back. So Hedera was not was not live yet. We were doing that on Sweardle, but we did like a very simple proof of concept for the FDA where we had like some manufacturer pushing some information, and it was like tracked like real time. We built as well a dashboard on top of it, and it will see like it was geo-located as well, so it will see which drug was running low in which state, for why, was there any reason, maybe there was some manufacturing line that were like there was like some investigation and stuff like that. So it was really fun, and definitely for us like ADR is like we can use it for a lot of use cases, but for tracking information on exchange information on top of a network in near real time, it's like awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited about bringing this kind of real-time development paradigm and trust model to blockchain and the trust model of these applications. We actually did get a question in the live stream chat.
Yeah.
Someone's wondering if at any point in time, can you check the previous modification or versions of a document or data set, kind of like source control?
Yeah, so today we have this information in the database, but it's not exposed in the UI. Right now, because of the use case we are working on, it's really, I put a document and I share this document with someone else, but I don't do like, versioning. So we have that, built inside the backend, but not
Yep.
exposed in the UI right now.
That makes sense. So it's mostly like your use case right now is we'll let you continuously update files, and we're going to take the most recent one as the source of truth almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where like you can keep pushing us data sets. We'll know the timestamp, that data set was uploaded or altered. And then we know from there that this is kind of the truth.
Yeah.
But it does sound like if there was ever a use case or a need for adding version control or history, you guys could do it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
seems
because again, we track every event on a document, so we can track like every. Well, we already track in the database, but I think that we can improve that because we do like a diff between versions, so it will be maybe quite annoying in the UI to display that. So we may have some work to display it like in a nice user-friendly way to be able
yeah.
to
I
see
wonder
the.
if Git, their diff tool, is open source in any way. They do that amazingly.
Yeah.
But thank you, Soren. I believe that's how you pronounce your name for that question. If anyone else has questions, please let us know in the live stream chat. But thank you so much for this demo. Would you like to show off any of your dashboards or anything
Yeah.
else that you guys are working on?
Let me do that. I just want before to switch something to. I just wanted to share, this
Oh,
diagram
wow, this
that.
is awesome.
So this one was how we implemented our mirror node. So as I said, we just retired our mirror node. So I just wanted to show you that very quickly that how we built that. Just be aware that it was not scaling very nice. So it's maybe not the best, architecture diagram, but maybe, someone that want to build like a mirror node may learn from that. So very briefly, so we had like our mirror node pushing transaction into, so we are like today, we are full AWS. So we are like a mirror node pushing to Amazon SQS. We are using, Kubernetes and microservices and stuff like that. So we're like a bunch of transaction parser receiving information. We were doing some, let's say, cleaning of the transaction on some, we were adding some information as well. On this transaction parser, we're putting that in a serverless database. We had, again, it was my first experience with serverless database. It was very good. I mean, it scaled up and scaled down like, automatically, and it was awesome and blah, blah, but we had some issues when it was scaling up. So I don't know why, when it was scaling up, we were losing connection. So the transaction parser was like completely lost and we had to do some retry and stuff like that. So it was a bit annoying.
That's interesting. This is a really insightful diagram. I know that because Hedera can handle so many transactions per second, we expect to be able to handle, billions a day.
Yes.
And so if you are a team building mirror node infrastructure, that is a hefty body of work. You're handling billions of transactions and managing them and then offering and serving them via APIs. So this example of what you guys were maintaining probably compared to an architecture diagram of what you guys are maintaining now, that you're providing this kind of cross mirror node validation
Yeah.
is probably a very stark difference.
Definitely, yeah. And so yeah, I just wanted to share, this diagram and stuff like that.